Let me tell y'all something. Sometimes life will send you a story that makes you sit back, blink twice, and say, wait, what did she just say? So I'm talking to this woman, strong, confident Indian woman. She starts telling me about her marriage story. And I'm thinking, all right, I've heard it all. Love, heartbreak, drama, in-laws, nothing new under the sun. But nah, this one hit different. She said, sir, I didn't marry for love. I learned love. I said, hold on. What you mean by that? She said, where I come from, love isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. Man, that line right there stopped me. Because see, where most of us spend years chasing feelings, she was out there choosing commitment. She wasn't talking about butterflies or text messages or dates at fancy restaurants. She was talking about waking up every day and deciding, I'm going to make this work. She said when she first met her husband, she didn't even like him that much. He wasn't tall. He wasn't rich. He didn't talk smooth, but he showed up every single day, respectful, consistent, real. And she said, over time, that man's loyalty turned into my love. Now listen, that right there is powerful. Because in this world, people walk away the moment it gets hard. Folks delete each other faster than they delete emails. But this woman, she built love like a house, brick by brick, forgiveness, patience, prayer, understanding, all of it. And when I asked her, do you ever wish you had fallen in love first? She smiled, looked me dead in the eye, and said, if I had fallen in love first, I might have fallen out of it too. But when you build love, you don't fall, you stand. Woo! See, that's the part that shook me, because that's truth right there. Love ain't just fireworks and magic. It's work, it's sacrifice, it's showing up when you don't feel like it. And this woman, she reminded me that sometimes the strongest love stories don't start with sparks. They start with values. So to everybody out there waiting for the perfect love story, stop waiting for it to fall from the sky. Sometimes God don't give you what you want. He gives you what will grow you. And when that happens, when you stop chasing feelings and start choosing character, that's when you find the kind of love that don't fade, don't break, and don't run when storms come. Now that woman, she didn't just tell me a story. She taught me a lesson. Because the real shock wasn't her story. It was the wisdom behind it. Love isn't something you wait for. It's something you build. And that's one of the hardest truths for people to accept in this generation, because we're taught to believe that love should just happen to us, like some magical moment in a movie or a sudden spark that changes everything. But real life doesn't work that way, because love isn't a feeling that just falls from the sky. It's a process. It's a decision. It's an everyday choice to care, to show up, to stay even when you don't feel like staying. And the ones who truly understand that are the ones who make it last. The problem is people are sitting around waiting for a perfect person, a perfect time, a perfect sign, when in reality what they need is patience, effort, and a willingness to build something brick by brick, because real love grows slowly. It takes time to trust, time to understand, time to learn how to handle someone's soul. When two people decide to build love, they start by laying a foundation. And that foundation isn't made of chemistry or attraction alone. It's made of respect, communication, forgiveness, and sacrifice. And the truth is, that part ain't always romantic, but it's always real. Love that's built doesn't depend on how good things are going. It survives the days when things fall apart because it's rooted in something deeper than emotions. Feelings change with the weather, but character, loyalty, and effort build something that can stand the storms. Waiting for love to find you makes you passive. It keeps you in a fantasy where you believe someone will come and fix everything. But building love makes you active. It makes you intentional about the way you treat people, about how you communicate, and about the kind of person you are becoming in the process. When you build love, you're not looking for perfection. You're looking for potential. You're saying, we might not have it all right now, but if we both show up, if we both keep trying, we can create something strong. Love built from patience carries more depth because it's not rushed, it's tested. And when it's tested, it becomes pure. That's why the people who understand this principle never envy the ones who seem to fall in love overnight, because they know that the kind of love that grows slow lasts. You learn through building that love is not always exciting, but it is always evolving. And through each challenge, through every argument, through every misunderstanding, you're either adding strength or creating cracks. People who wait for love often miss it when it's right in front of them because they're too focused on how it's supposed to feel instead of recognizing what it's supposed to teach. Love built with intention matures into something unbreakable, something peaceful, something steady. You realize it's not about butterflies. It's about building a home in someone's heart where trust becomes the walls and faith becomes the roof, and every small act of kindness adds another brick to the structure that both of you can stand on. Commitment lasts longer than emotions because emotions are like waves. They rise and fall depending on the season, the situation, and the mood you're in. But commitment is the anchor that holds you steady when those waves start to crash. People often confuse being in love with staying in love, and that's where most relationships break apart because staying in love requires a level of maturity that goes beyond feelings. When you build something based on emotions, you're building on sand because feelings can change overnight. One argument, one disappointment, one misunderstanding can shift everything. But when you build on commitment, you're building on rock. It's something that doesn't move when life starts shaking around you. Commitment is when you choose to stay, not because it's easy, but because it's right, because you gave your word, and because deep down you know that love is a promise, not just a passion. Emotions can make you excited, they can make you smile, they can make you feel alive, but commitment is what makes love survive. It's what makes a person show up when they're tired. It's what makes them listen when they're angry. It's what makes them choose forgiveness when pride tells them to walk away. When people rely only on emotions, they treat love like a high, always chasing that initial spark, always needing more drama or intensity to feel connected. But when the high fades, they assume the love is gone, not realizing that real love begins right there, when the excitement wears off and the work begins. Commitment is not about feeling good all the time. It's about standing firm even when it hurts, even when you don't understand, even when the other person isn't perfect, because truth is nobody ever will be. When two people are committed, they stop keeping score. They stop measuring who gives more, who apologizes first, who's right or wrong, because their focus shifts from me to us. Commitment transforms selfish love into selfless love. And that's the kind of love that endures. It's not about convenience. It's about conviction. You can't build a future with someone who only stays when it's easy. You need someone who stays when it's uncomfortable, someone who believes in what you're building, even when they don't feel butterflies anymore. That's why the strongest relationships are built by people who understand that feelings are temporary, but choices are lasting. Every time you choose to stay, every time you choose to communicate, every time you choose patience over pride, you are reinforcing that foundation. Commitment gives love depth, it gives it roots, it gives it something to stand on when everything else around it feels unstable. The beauty of commitment is that it teaches you that love isn't supposed to be perfect. It's supposed to be persistent, and that kind of persistence doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on what you believe and what you're willing to protect when emotions no longer lead the way. Consistency speaks louder than charm because charm can draw attention, but consistency earns trust. And without trust, love has no foundation to stand on. Charm can impress people in moments, but consistency proves who you really are over time because anyone can act loving for a week, a month, or even a year, but only a consistent person can show love through every season. Real relationships are built in the small, ordinary, everyday moments, not just the big gestures or sweet words. Consistency is showing up even when the excitement fades. It's keeping your word when no one is watching. It's treating someone with the same respect on hard days that you do on easy ones. The problem is many people fall for charm because it feels good in the beginning. It's shiny, it's exciting, it's full of promises. But charm without consistency is empty. It can't sustain anything real. When someone is consistent, their actions start to speak a language of safety, and that safety allows love to grow. You begin to relax, you begin to trust, you begin to build something steady because you know what to expect. Charm might win hearts quickly, but consistency keeps them. The person who is consistent doesn't need to be perfect. They just need to be reliable because reliability is what builds security, and security is what gives love its strength. When you think about it, love itself is consistency. It's choosing the same person, the same effort, the same faith, day after day, even when it's not exciting anymore. The ones who are consistent show love in the details. in remembering small things, in keeping promises, in showing up on time, in doing the right thing when it's inconvenient. That's what separates genuine love from temporary attraction. A lot of people can talk about how much they care, but not everyone can prove it through actions, and it's those actions, repeated over time, that make love last. Consistency builds credibility. It creates a rhythm that two people can depend on, a heartbeat that keeps the relationship alive even through silence. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful, because love that's built on consistency doesn't have to be constantly reassured. It's already proven. Charm might make someone smile, but consistency makes them stay. It's the quiet kind of love that doesn't need to shout to be felt, because it's present in every choice, every gesture, every day. When someone is consistent, you stop questioning their intentions because their actions already answered those questions for you. And that's why, in the long run, consistency will always outshine charm, because charm fades when reality shows up, but consistency grows stronger with time. The truth is, charm is about how you start, but consistency is about how you sustain. And the kind of love that stands the test of time is built by people who keep showing up with the same heart. Long after the spark has burned out, real love grows from loyalty, not luxury, because no amount of money, beauty, or status can replace the security that comes from knowing someone's heart is truly committed to you. Luxury can decorate a relationship, but loyalty is what protects it. Too many people confuse love with lifestyle, thinking that gifts, vacations, or a comfortable life mean devotion, but those things can disappear in an instant. And when they do, what's left behind determines whether the love was real or just convenient. Loyalty is quiet. It doesn't need to show off. It doesn't need attention. It simply stays when everything else gets difficult. It's easy to love when life is comfortable, when everything is shiny and smooth, but loyalty reveals itself in the moments when nothing looks glamorous, when everything feels uncertain, when the other person has nothing to offer except themselves. That's when you see the difference between love built on luxury and love built on loyalty. Luxury can attract people, but loyalty keeps them, because loyalty means choosing someone not just for what they give you, but for who they are. Loyalty is standing by a person when their name isn't shining, when they're struggling, when they're doubting themselves, when they have nothing left to impress you with. It's staying true when temptation tries to whisper in your ear, when life tries to test your patience, when pride tries to pull you away. Loyalty is love's strongest proof, because it costs something. It costs comfort, ego, and sometimes even opportunity. But the kind of person who can stay loyal in hard times is the one who understands that love is not about gain, it's about growth. Loyalty gives love roots. It creates a sense of safety that luxury can't buy. Because when you know someone's loyalty is real, you stop fearing loss. You stop wondering if they'll leave when things change, because you've already seen that they won't. Love that grows from loyalty is peaceful. It's quiet strength. It doesn't need to impress the world because it's already solid on the inside. When two people are loyal to each other, they stop competing, they start building, they share wins and losses as one. Luxury can make love look beautiful from the outside, but loyalty makes love feel beautiful on the inside. Loyalty holds relationships together when emotions fluctuate, when circumstances shift, when people around you try to plant doubt. It's not about being perfect. It's about being faithful, showing that no matter what happens, your heart doesn't wander. And that's what gives love its power to last. The world teaches us to chase the things that shine, but the truth is the things that shine fade, and the things that stay are built on faith, trust, and devotion. Loyalty might not make noise, but it speaks the loudest. And in the end, the ones who value loyalty over luxury are the ones who experience the kind of love that doesn't need to be shown off, because it's already proven through every test, every season, and every choice. Building love creates strength. Chasing feelings creates chaos, because when you build love, you're grounded in something steady. But when you chase feelings, you're always running after something that keeps changing. Feelings are unpredictable. They shift with moods, situations, and moments, but what you build with intention and effort lasts beyond all that. People who build love understand that it's a process, not a pursuit. It's not about finding constant excitement, but about creating a foundation that can handle both joy and disappointment. When you chase feelings, you're controlled by emotions. You make choices based on how things feel right now instead of what's right for the long run, and that leads to confusion, disappointment, and instability. Building love means you take time to understand, to listen, to grow together, and that process makes you stronger because every challenge you face becomes another layer of trust and understanding. Chasing feelings is like chasing smoke. You keep reaching for something that looks beautiful but slips through your fingers every time. Love built on feelings alone collapses the moment those feelings fade, but love built with patience and purpose gets stronger with time. Building love takes maturity. It requires you to step past the need for instant gratification and learn the value of consistency, sacrifice, and shared effort. People who build love don't run every time it gets difficult. They fix what's broken, they communicate through the silence, and they choose to rebuild rather than replace. When you build love, you create peace within chaos because you know that the bond you've formed can handle pressure. You stop expecting perfection, and you start valuing progress. On the other hand, chasing feelings keeps you in a constant cycle of highs and lows because feelings are temporary, and when they fade, so does your reason to stay. That's why people who chase feelings often feel empty. They're always waiting for that next emotional spark instead of learning how to nurture the flame they already have. Building love isn't about chasing excitement, it's about creating stability. It's showing up even when the butterflies are gone. It's caring even when you're tired. It's staying calm when everything feels uncertain. When two people commit to building love, they develop emotional strength, and that strength protects the relationship from the storms that destroy weaker ones. Chasing feelings makes love fragile because it depends on external things to survive, but building love makes it unshakable because it's rooted in purpose and discipline. Real love doesn't demand constant intensity. It thrives on steady effort. It's not about how passionate you feel one day, but how much you're willing to grow through every season. Building love teaches patience, humility, and endurance. It transforms affection into a partnership and emotions into legacy. People who build love understand that strength doesn't come from grand gestures. It comes from everyday choices that reinforce the bond. And when love is built this way, it doesn't need to chase anything because it already has everything it needs to stand strong through every test and every change life brings. God gives you what will grow you, not just what you want, because sometimes the things we pray for aren't the things that will make us better. And life has a way of teaching that growth often comes wrapped in discomfort. People spend so much time asking for blessings, for love, for success, for peace, but they forget that growth rarely feels like a blessing when it's happening. Sometimes God will send you people or situations that test your patience, that challenge your pride, that push you to your limits, not to punish you, but to prepare you. When you only chase what you want, you're chasing comfort. But when you accept what God gives, you're accepting the process that shapes you into who you're meant to be. Growth doesn't come from easy seasons. It comes from moments when you don't understand why things are happening, when you feel like you're being stretched beyond your strength. But it's in those moments that character is built, that wisdom is born, that faith becomes real. God knows that giving you everything you want too soon can destroy you, so instead, He gives you experiences that build you strong enough to handle what's ahead. The people you lose, the doors that close, the delays that frustrate you, they're not there to break you, they're there to mold you. Every no you hear is often a not yet, because timing matters as much as blessing. When you look back at your life, you'll see that the moments that hurt you the most were the same moments that taught you the most. God doesn't just hand you comfort, He hands you opportunities for growth, and sometimes those opportunities come disguised as pain, rejection, or failure. When you want peace, He might send